What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Jets Roundtable. Now, this is a unique Jets Roundtable because it's game day. The Jets got a game tonight. What? It feels like they just finished that Christmas Eve game against the Washington Commanders just yesterday, and all of a sudden now we're going to be talking about a game tonight. Now, I'm excited to be live here on the AFC East Roundtable, hosting the Jets Roundtable, which is the best individual team roundtable on this division, just so you guys know. But in all seriousness, I'm excited to bring in Matt O'Leary, Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7, Mr. Jack McGalley himself, who's the co-host of the Jets Media Podcast, because the Jets play a game tonight against Joe Flacco, who is red hot, and I cannot wait to get into that. And don't worry, we will be talking about the rest of the AFC East as well. The Miami Dolphins have a big game coming up against the Baltimore Ravens. We have an inter-division game to talk about, which is the Patriots going up against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills still mathematically have a chance to win the division still. So we will be talking about that and all those good things. So guys, before we bring in the rest of the panel, please do me a gigantic favor. Hit that like button. If you guys have been enjoying the Jets Roundtable, I would really appreciate it if you can simply hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the AFC East Roundtable YouTube channel. With that being said, let's bring in the people. First up, it's Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7. He is the host of 3 and Out, produced by Roundtable Sports, and Ryan himself, our first ever game show. It is a sensational show, and that's going to be live every Monday at 7:30 p.m. EST. Ryan, welcome to the Jets Roundtable, my man. Good to see you.
Always good to talk some Jets with you, Richie. I'm looking forward to chopping it up.
I'm looking forward to chopping up too. How about that? Let's freaking go. Shout out to everybody in the chat again. I see that the hype is getting ready to go. Jets fans are just biting at the bit for tonight's game because it's just, woo, a lot in the line. Next up, we got Mr. Matt O'Leary himself, a co-host of the Talking Jets panel with Ryan. He's a really good YouTuber, got a Jets podcast. It's Mr. Matt O'Leary. He's been here all throughout the Jets Roundtable tenure. Welcome to the show, Matt.
I am excited for some New York Jets, Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football. How could you not be? Let's do it.
I mean, dude, it's just like the game of the ages. You thought the Christmas Eve matchup was going to be some? Just wait till you see what we got in store tonight for you guys. Primetime video, best Thursday Night Football on the horizon, which is, by the way, also the last Thursday night game of the season. Last but not least, we got my man, the legend, my co-host of the Jets Media Podcast, great partner of Jets Media, and a writer and a good partner of Touchdown Kingdom on YouTube as well, and a musician, Mr. Jack McGalley.
What an intro. What's up, boys? I'm ready for all the pain that comes with tonight's Jets game, and happy to be here talking Jets with you guys, as always. Thank you very much.
Love to hear it, folks. We do have a big game tonight, and it is really, really interesting that we even have a game. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. When I woke up this morning, it did not feel like game day. Usually, like, you wake up and you feel like, oh, wow, the Jets play today. Like, we all have that feeling. I don't have it today. I'm still convinced they're not playing tonight. I don't know why it feels this way, but that's just, I feel like, very consistent throughout the Jets fan base. So let's just get straight into business. But before we get into tonight's game, we got to talk about the game that happened this past week against the Washington Commanders. The New York Jets have probably the best first half of the season, best first quarter since 2014, put up 17 points, and they're up 27-7. Jets fans don't know what to think at halftime. We were like, whoa, this is a team. We're dominating a bad team. Wow. And then it all collapses in our face, and Jacoby Brissett gets plugged in, and everything just starts going in the Washington Commanders' favor. They take the lead late, but then the Jets find out a way to get Greg Zuerlein in field goal range to kick the game-winning field goal to send the Jets victorious on Christmas Eve. So I want to get your guys' thoughts of that game and your just overall recap and your overall feelings after the New York Jets came away with the W. So, Jack, I'll start off with you, my man. What did you take away from that game the most?
Listen, man, I kind of took the Matt O'Leary way of thinking for that game and just went numb, you know? I was excited about the way the Jets were playing in the first half, as I'm sure we all were. And, you know, I was obviously rooting for the Jets to win. With this regime coming back next year, as it's been confirmed by the owner, you know, we gotta get all the wins we can, get all the momentum we can heading into next year. I believe in that. But once the second half collapse started to happen at the hands of Jacoby Brissett, who, by the way, better be backing up Aaron Rodgers next year. But once that started to occur, I'm like, damn, you know what? maybe I'd actually like to see the Jets lose this game so Woody Johnson would have the balls to fire the people that need to be fired. But that's yet to be seen, man. So I don't know. This was a roller coaster of a game. I guess I'm happy about a Jets win. I'm not rooting for the draft pick. Sorry, Ryan. But, every emotion you could feel, we felt during that game. So we'll see what the Jets have in store for us tonight. And, what a disaster. I guess, when you look at 27-7 and then the final score 30-28, something went terribly, terribly wrong. Once again, the Jets collapse, still find a way to win. I don't know how to feel, man. It's, once again, I know I sound like a broken record, but 13 straight years without the playoffs. I can't get too excited about a 2-point collapse win over the Washington Commanders, who are power ranked 31st in the NFL. So what are you going to do?
Matt, what did you take away from that game?
Not a lot of great things. The first half was really fun, but as someone who was very much so team numb, if they won, fine. If they lost, fine. That was an extremely entertaining 3.5 hours. You got the highs of the highs, the lows of the lows. But I think the biggest positive was how well Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson looked. And if the Jets are going to win games with their young core, I just don't have it in me to get upset about draft positioning. And if, Joe Douglas is half as good as what, some people think he is, then he should be able to find somebody at pick 9 or pick 5, like dropping the 4 slots. While, it's annoying because you look at, some of these guys in the draft and where they might go. It's not always a guarantee that if you pick first, you get the first best guy. And if you pick 5th, you get the 5th best guy. Draft is a crapshoot. So it's on him to find someone who could come in and be a contributor right away. But I'm kind of just going to let the chips fall out and then see where they're picking at the end. I don't have any of me to get upset about wins and losses right now.
Mr. Ryan, your thoughts and takeaways from that Jets game.
So I went into this past game, kind of hoping for a Jets loss or expecting a Jets loss because I don't expect us to score many points. And that's sort of, I'm enticed by the draft pick at this point. And Washington sitting in front of us, that's what I was looking at. And then we go on an awesome tear in the first half. Defense sets off. Special teams gets a block punt. I'm feeling real good. Let's go. Let's stomp the shit out of Washington. And then you come out and blow the lead, and it's against the worst defense in the NFL, who traded away 2 of their best defensive linemen for draft picks. They're actively trying to tank. I'm sorry. I'm not happy with this win. I'm super frustrated. It's cool Breece Hall went off. It's cool. Garrett Wilson's a stud. Did I think any less of them before the game? No. I think they're still studs. I think the draft pick would have helped us. We've had this happen over the course of the careers of being Jets fans here. And it's not that I'm expecting the coaches to tank. I'm not expecting the players to tank. I'm frustrated at life in general if we're not having the luck to have the that last second loss where you have 2007 Jets win a game against Kansas City, end of the season. We wind up picking Vernon Gholston over Matt Ryan. Fast forward, you have to trade Leonard Williams because you drafted Quinnen Williams because you didn't lose the last game to get Nick Bosa. But guess what? The 49ers did. And the 49ers don't seem like they're tanking. And it seems like it's worked out well for them. And then, obviously, the Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson stuff. 2 wins separates us from Nick Bosa, Trevor Lawrence, $75 million, 2 additional second-round picks, and probably Elijah Moore still on our roster. So, no, I'm not thrilled about this win. Frustrated.
Yikes. Ryan, I'm here for you, man. Well, you broke it down well.
Bitter.
But I will say my only pushback, I'm very, very happy with my man Quinnen Williams. Big Q. I'm not really crying over not having Nick Bosa right now because Big Q is a Jet, baby. Sorry, I had to bring out the Q dance.
I love it.
No,
that's not to knock Quinnen Williams at all.
I understand. You're making a point about
Quinnen,
the draft.
but we had to lose Leo, so we lost a player to gain a player when we could have had a net, kind of 2.
No, absolutely. And listen, that's the whole, perspective of the fan base right now. And the sad thing is, this isn't the first time as a fan base we're sitting here talking about should we win or lose at this state. I think we can all agree that we want to be rooting for a win to make the damn playoffs. Right? We don't want to be having this debate. We don't want to be having this conversation. And it's just frustration because all Jets fans want is a winning product on the football field, and we are all trying to get to that. In whatever way it gets there, hopefully one day in our lives, right? But that's the reality of the situation, and it is unfortunate that we're sitting here talking about a meaningless win and then talking about a game tonight that has no impact on anything to do with this season regarding making the postseason, because that's where expectations were, heading into the season with Aaron Rodgers, obviously, for all of it to get ripped to shreds. So that's my next question. Actually, we do have a super chat to get through before we get into the next segment. Thank you, professionally certified hater, coming in with a $5 super chat. The fans who are rooting for a win will be the same fans who will complain about the offensive line and say Joe Douglas did nothing next year. Watch. Well, I don't know about that. Thank you for the $5 super chat. But the way I look at it, man, is I have absolutely zero impact on what happens on the football field, whether I am rooting for the Jets to win or whether I'm rooting for the Jets to lose. So I go in with it because I feel like Jets games and football games in general are sacred. There's only 17 games in a season, especially for the New York Jets, because they don't make the playoffs. So as a fan, I'm going to root for them to win during the game actively. And if they happen to lose, hey, okay, cool. It helps out the draft pick. And if there's a win there, then you can build some morale. That's just that's how I look at it. Whereas the fans, that's why I'm rooting for a win, right? I really think that if the Jets went out there and won tonight, for example, which is something I do want to get into as well, just a mindset of tonight's game of what's better for the franchise. Is that going to be a W tonight? Is that going to be an L tonight? And that's kind of where I want to segue into this next question. So tonight against the Cleveland Browns, we're going up against a red-hot Joe Flacco. A red hot? I mean, first of all, that's crazy just from an NFL story perspective that Joe Flacco, out of everybody, is playing like his best football of his entire career. And the Jets are going to Cleveland. And the Jets are the heavy, heavy underdogs. And I feel like I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts in the live chat, your guys' thoughts in the comments. If you're on Instagram watching, on Twitter watching, let us know in the chat your thoughts on this. What is better for the Jets organization tonight? Going into Cleveland and pulling off an upset somehow and having the players play to their caliber and maybe pull off the win, or losing and getting a better draft pick. So, Jack, where's your head at heading into tonight, just in terms of what's better for the Jets organization moving forward?
Listen, man, I definitely want to win this game. As upset as I am with this regime coming back next year, the reality of the situation is that they are coming back, and I firmly believe that the way to build momentum towards a hopefully much better season next year is with a win over the Cleveland Browns tonight. The Cleveland Browns are red hot. Joe Flacco, former Jet great quarterback, has been absolutely lighting it up for the Browns over the past 3-4 games. Thrown for like 1,300 yards in the last 4 games, something crazy like that. So if we can, go shut it down in Cleveland on primetime, I know we're staring down the barrel at another dead season, and it pains all of us, but the reality of the situation is that these guys are coming back next year. The vast majority of these players will be back next year as well. So I want to see this team win, especially against a good team like the Browns with a great defense, a great offensive line, and they're really getting great stuff out of Joe Flacco right now. And, with all the adversity that the Cleveland Browns have faced this year, look at where they are, man. So, we a caller called into Richie and my podcast the other day and said, made the comparison. He's like, if the Jets looked in the mirror, what they would want to see is the Cleveland Browns. With all the crap that they've gone through this year, they're still in a great position to make a run in the playoffs. And I think, they could very well do that with how their defense has been playing and what they've been getting out of Joe Flacco. So I would love to see this Jets team go into Cleveland and upset a very good Browns team on Thursday night, 100%. Give me a win tonight.
Yeah, man, that Browns fan, Michael is his name. I didn't like when he said that, okay?
But he's so true, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's why I don't like it. It's the reality clicked in. You're just like, damn it, the Browns, great defense, injured quarterback, and they still are one of the best teams in the AFC right now. So that's sad. Matt, what's your thoughts about tonight's game? What do you want to see from this Jets team tonight to kind of move some momentum forward into next season?
Can I take my neutral stance here and say, I don't really, not that I don't care about a win or a loss, but I think you can make a case for both being a positive. The loss being obviously increased draft stock, and the win being that I think it's pretty shitty for things to keep happening where you're losing games with the core of Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Quinton Williams. All these guys have known since they've been here is losing, and I don't think that's good for any of these guys and their the perspective of staying or wanting to leave. So for me, I'm gonna take whatever happens and I'm gonna spin that into the positive. If they go out and lose, which I think they do, I don't really give them much of a chance in this game. I think it's a really bad matchup with Trevor Siemian going up against a really great defense and a good pass rush. But what I'm looking for in this game is for the young players to show either one, just how dominant they are, like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, or for some of these other guys who are more depth pieces, like what do you get out of Izzy tonight? Zach Kuntz, is he active tonight? What do you see out of him? And some of those young pieces on the defensive side of the ball. For me, it's all about looking at, those guys and seeing how they're progressing.
Zach Kuntz could be active tonight. If you guys did not know, Jeremy Ruckert is out with a concussion. And we saw some Kenny Yeboah as well with CJ Uzomah go down. So the tight end position is a little banged up. And it's going to be Tyler Conklin, Kuntz, and Yeboah as the potential 3 tight ends for any nerd Jets fans that care. Ryan, what is better for the Jets organization, my friend, tonight? A win or an L for the future?
It's going to be a win. It's going to be a win, 100%. I want to win on this game, mostly because this is a good football team. I want to beat a good football team. If you can show that, last week, what you saw the first half, that's consistent. We could do something like that moving forward against better teams, and you can carry that win and the momentum that win created into a win into this game, or at least play competitively. I want this to be a competitive game. I don't want to come out flat again, and God forbid we get into the end of the year and the win last week ends up costing us the top 3 pick. Like, if that's what winds up happening, I'm hoping for wins the rest of the way out here. I think the momentum that you can gain from beating a good team like the Browns and then ending the streak versus the Patriots, neutralizes all the bad vibes I had from this past week. But you got to do it. And I also don't want to see Flacco dominate us, because then I got to hear all the storylines of, the Jets should have signed Joe Flacco at quarterback once Rodgers went down, even though the offensive lines are totally different. They lost their starting left tackle and right tackle, but Flacco has been pressured 4th least of any other quarterback in the last 4 weeks, where Zach Wilson just 2 weeks ago was pressured, I think, 80% of the time against the Dolphins? Absolutely insane. I think the draft pick matters less at this point now, and I think the wins matter more when they're against good teams. So give me good football tonight and something to be proud of.
And just to follow up on what you said, Ryan, about Joe Flacco, I honestly, and I said this before, don't believe if the Jets sign Joe Flacco. He's doing what he's doing right now. The Browns system, and not even just their offensive line, but just the scheme, them being in multiple years, and Joe Flacco got plugged into just an actual good offense around him. That has a lot to say with it. I don't know if Joe Flacco with Nathaniel Hackett with this offense maybe will be in a better situation. I don't know. But, we saw Joe Flacco on the Jets with LaFleur. Wasn't anything special. I think the Browns just have a really good offensive system and a really good playmakers around them and a solid offensive line that is helping. And that's not to take anything away from Joe Flacco, but there's a lot that's going well around him that's kind of helping him excel, which is going to be interesting to see how the Jets match up against them tonight defensively, because that's really what it comes down to, right? The matchup that I'm looking forward to is the Jets defense going up against the Browns offense. But the other side, it's oh, God, I'm not ready for that one. I mean, the Jets offense against the Browns defense, I'm expecting 10 points max. Even that, I don't even know if we'll get 10, because I just don't see a world where the Jets offense led by Trevor Siemian is going to put up points against this defense. The only chance that they have is they have to just dump the ball off to Breece Hall at least 10 to 15 times a game and just hope that he can break one free, because I don't see Trevor Siemian to do it. If there's one thing I'll give Trevor Siemian credit for, and this is funny because this is the first time I feel like I've never talked about a starting quarterback on the Jets. I'm never talking about Trevor Siemian. He's just our quarterback. Usually the quarterback's a big topic. But the one thing he does do good at, I would say, is short throw accuracy and just get the ball out quick and just to the playmakers. So, Jack, how can this Jets offense move this ball against the Browns? Should we expect them, or is the only way we win? What's the path to victory here in a hypothetical world? Is it the defense just leveling up and getting turnovers? Because the matchups for the Jets' perspectives is not in our favor, and that's why we're the heavy underdogs for a reason. But how do they pull off the upset if they would?
Listen, man, I want to make this very clear. I am 100% rooting for a Jets win tonight, but I think there's a less than 1% chance that the Jets actually come away with this win. When you look at Trevor Siemian, when you look at how this offensive line has been so inconsistent, when you look at how Myles Garrett has been playing football, I expect him to absolutely toy with Mekhi Becton tonight. I don't know that there's really a path to victory, at least on the offensive side of the ball. Listen, if the Jets defense comes out there and plays absolutely lights out and makes life difficult for Joe Flacco tonight, maybe we have a chance in some sort of 13-10 score. But I mean, I think that is so highly unlikely. I mean, I really don't know if there's a path to victory tonight. So I want to make that very clear. While I'm rooting for the Jets to win, I don't see a world where it happens tonight, man. I really don't. It feels borderline impossible. It really does.
Matt, you said earlier you're definitely expecting the Jets to lose this game as well. But if there is a path to victory, can you lay it out? How can the Jets pull off this upset?
A blocked punt or a defensive score, because I think offensively, I'll give the Jets 6 points. I think they kicked 2 field goals. I don't think Trevor Siemian, who doesn't move the ball well, or move around well, rather, is going to move the ball on this defense all that much. And also, this game is going to be so hilariously quarterbacked because for Joe Flacco, yeah, he's been racking up touchdowns and yardage, but he's also had multiple turnovers in these games. So I think we're going to see 6 combined turnovers between fumbles and interceptions. Simeon's good for a fumble tonight. He's
100%.
At some Myles Garrett's going to blow by Mekhi Becton or Carter Warren and corkscrew him into the ground. He's going to lose the ball at some point in this game. So yeah, I guess if they capitalize on more Joe Flacco turnovers, maybe, but first team to 16 wins the game tonight.
Ryan, how do we pull off this upset? How do we do it?
Dude, it's not happening. It's not happening. Dude, as much as I think a Jets win would be great for, win versus loss, but there's no way we're winning this game. This offensive line has been absolutely abysmal. The only reason we were even in the game against the Commanders is because the defense got picks. The defense or the special teams got the blocked punt. That game's not even a battle if the Jets don't get that stuff from the defense. So I don't expect Trevor Siemian to get many yards here. I think first team over 10 points probably wins this game.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a tall task, and this is one of those games where there's no matchup that we can look at and say, yeah, that's going to go in our favor. I mean, the key matchup I'm looking at, just in terms of an NFL fan, excited to watch these two go at it, it's going to be Sauce Gardner going up against Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper is dealing with a heel injury, so he's questionable, but he's coming off the game of his life. So that's going to be fun. And just the overall Joe Flacco against the Jets pass defense, because Joe Flacco has 3 straight 300-yard games, which is, by the way, the first time in his career, which is mind-blowing. And secondly, the Jets have a streak that they have not given up a quarterback with 300-plus yards since week 3 of last season against the Bengals. That's a ridiculous stat. The Jets just are elite against the pass, and now they're going up against a red-hot team on offense through the air. So that's the one matchup I'm looking forward to watch the most from a Jets fan perspective, and how they really stack up against this Cleveland Browns team. Now, which players are we looking for, though? Which players should be the key? Which guys on the Jets should Jets fans be keeping an eye on to kind of look for next year, right? Whether it's Tony Adams, who's a first-year starter, he seems like he is officially becoming the Jets' starting free safety for the future. And let's not forget, he's in year number 2, but this is his first year starting. I think that's someone that comes to my mind that's an underrated Jet that is exciting. His growth coming off another interception last week. Other guys like Michael Carter II, who is a big underrated piece to this Jets defense. He is entering a contract year next year. Will the Jets extend him? I think that's a big deal that Joe Douglas needs to figure out. And the walking pending free agents, like a guy like Bryce Huff, how is he going to finish off the season in a contract year? Mekhi Becton, is he going to ever show what he used to be, to kind of see okay, will the Jets move on from him? Will they keep him? And of course, the youthful guys that we're all excited for the most, and Sauce and Garrett and all those boys. So, Jack, if there's any handful of Jets players that you want to see kind of have a really good game tonight, just to build some momentum into next season? Maybe guys that's been struggling all year, maybe they can finally come around, or people that's been playing well all season long. What are some players you're looking forward to seeing tonight for the Jets?
I'm very glad you mentioned Tony Adams. He's my boy, as you know, because I was going to mention just the secondary as a whole. I really think they, need to have a big game tonight. If there's any chance in the world that we can win this game, I know we're all on the same page. We think that there's no shot that the Jets can win this game. But Matt is correct when he spoke about Joe Flacco. He does have 10 touchdowns, which is phenomenal, but he also has 7 interceptions in these games as well. So, I think Tony Adams could certainly be due for an interception tonight. If Sauce Gardner can get a long overdue interception, that would be phenomenal. But I think this secondary really has to ball out, shut down Joe Flacco's options. We obviously know he's not going to be able to beat us with his legs. So the secondary has to lock it down. The guys up front have to plug up the run game. And I think, we have a chance, at least defensively, because while Joe Flacco has been hot, he's also been turning the ball over pretty consistently as much as he's been throwing touchdowns. So I think the secondary needs to ball out tonight if we're going to have any chance of even remaining competitive in this game.
The secondary for the New York Jets is something to watch, man. They have grown together. It's special. Matt, what are you looking forward to tonight in specific players or position groups?
Yeah, you guys mentioned a lot of really good ones, but I'm going to go a different direction and say Izzy Abanikanda. I thought he looked explosive. He had 9 carries for 43 yards, 4.8 yards per attempt in the game against Washington. And now we have to, with any of the guys offensively against Washington, you have to have the caveat that it's a really bad defense, one of the worst in football. But I want to see from him if he's someone you feel comfortable with rolling as RB2 next year, or is he really just going to be RB3 and the Jets either have to find another running back through the draft or free agency to add to this running back room? And like I said, I thought he looked really explosive. So I want to see if that carries over against a much better defense in the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I know that he showed up in the injury report and he's questionable. I don't think that's anything we should be concerned about, right? He's definitely expected to play tonight.
I think so.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to miss.
Yeah, Izzy definitely showed some signs, man. We need that explosion. He kind of brings a different speed element where, like, you gave him the same carries that Dalvin Cook's got all year, and he just looks so much better. Oh, my gosh. I mean, just the burst. I mean, he's not galloping and going, like, 30 steps in, like, 2 yards. He's, like, not like this. I don't know. I'm just trying to break down what Dalvin Cook looks like running the football this season. It's been so bad. But, yes, I think Izzy is a great player to watch tonight. Ryan, any player that comes to mind that you're excited to see tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to go kind of the same direction as Matt went. Izzy's going to be a top one I'm looking at. He's going to be more, I think, a more obvious one to maybe see because he'll have the ball in his hands. But 2 players that I'm going to keep an eye on, Will McDonald. I want to see if we can get anything more out of him. I'm like really struggling. I think there's a really good chance Bryce Huff is going to walk without the Jets being able to even franchise tag him. The franchise tag's $19.4 million. I don't think there's any way that he winds up coming back after the Jets drafted his replacement last year and slapped him with the second-round tender trying to get some team to bite on him last year. So Will McDonald's a big one for me. And then I think Carter Warren on the other side of the ball, going to watch him. Not that I expect him to be a starter next year, but I'd like to feel confident in maybe him being a serviceable backup, like more confident than I am in like a Mitchell, for instance. If he could be that swing tackle, I think he's got great size. He's a good developmental piece. Maybe the Jets strike gold with him because he should have been higher if he wasn't injured in college.
I love that you brought up Carter Warren. He came off a great game against the Commanders, and I know it's against one of the worst defenses in the league, so it's hard to really take that. But still, Carter Warren, as a rookie, he held up his own, and that's someone I'm looking forward to. And you can also throw in Joe Tippmann, who's been holding it down, and the Jets have 2 rookies on their offensive line, and I think Carter Warren could show not to be a starter next year, but a guy that could be potential swing tackle depth, and we all know that the Jets offensive line needs depth desperately, and I think Carter Warren has some potential and has some upside. I'm excited to see what he can do. And you talk about Will McDonald, I really do think that draft pick was more about the Jets just knowing that Bryce Huff is not going to be able to come back just for the financial reasons. Nothing against Bryce Huff, but he deserves to get paid a lot of money, and the Jets simply don't have the whereabouts to afford that right now with all the other people that they're going to have to pay down the line. So I think that Will McDonald draft pick was more about thinking into the future of preparing for Bryce Huff to be, on the way out. And you heard Robert Saleh talk about Will McDonald, I believe, last week. He said that if he attacks this offseason like Jermaine Johnson did in his rookie year going into year number 2, then he has superstar potential. And I still see that in Will McDonald. I mean, we saw the Jermaine Johnson development. Year 1, very underwhelming. Year 2, he's breaking out, and he is one of the best players in the entire defense. I think Will McDonald could really do the same thing for the Jets, and it could be a Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson duo for the foreseeable future. Not to say I don't want, and I'm going to rule out Bryce Huff not returning, but it is going to be difficult for the New York Jets to bring them back. And it's cool because we kind of broke down all the rookies, really, right? Matt brought up Izzy, talk about Carter Warren. I brought up Joe Tittman, right? So, and Will McDonald, of course. So I'm curious to see how the Jets rookie class finishes off the season and get into, some type of positive energy into the next year. So I did want to ask you guys a question, and everybody in the chat, please feel free to answer this, and then we're going to get into the Dolphins and the rest of the things around the AFC East. But last thing about the New York Jets that I thought will be a little fun game that we can play here. The top 5 players on the Jets this season, right? So this is like the players that has performed this year, in your opinion, and not really just like their careers, but just like this individual year for the New York Jets. I think that the list could be broken down in a lot of different perspectives, and there's a lot of different reasons why this player could be ahead of that person. But I really found it interesting when I was thinking of my top 5 in my head. So I'm going to go around the table, and you guys can list top 5. Maybe one of us will have the same exact top 5 or not, and we'll discuss. So, Matt, I'll start off with you. Your top 5 Jets, starting from number 5 up to number 1.
Okay, starting at number 5, I have Quinnen Williams at number 5 for the New York Jets. You want to give reasoning on each one, or just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, kind of?
We'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll go around with the reasonings after we get into some debates.
Perfect.
That's going to cause.
At 4, I have Jermaine Johnson. 3, Greg Zerloin. 2, Thomas Morstead, and number 1, Quincy Williams.
Nice. Well, I'm happy to see that my boy Quincy Williams is on that, man. Number 1. All right, Jack, your top 5.
I got Aaron Rodgers, Billy Turner, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Nathaniel Hackett. No, that's man, what a list of bums that is. But no, I got a bunch that Matt already said. I didn't do it in any particular order, though. I feel foolish. But I got Thomas Morstead / Greg Zerloin as one of them. I gave myself the liberty of doing that. I got DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, and Quincy Williams. I left Quinnen Williams off this list, not for any particular reason. I obviously love Quinnen Williams, but I felt like DJ Reed needed a place on this list. I know he got burned by Jalen Waddle, but DJ Reed, DJ Reed is one of the only players that actually keeps my faith in our general manager as well. So I had to throw DJ Reed on this list, and that's my list. Quincy, Jermaine, Sauce, DJ Reed, Morstead / Zerloin.
Ryan, what did you come up with?
So I kind of went in relation to expectation, but also in relation to like questions we sort of needed to figure out. So I do have Zerline and Morstead on my list. I did the slash just like Jack did, and I felt like it had to be included. Morstead, the fact that we have 3 safeties this year is a testament to how he's able to punt the ball inside the 5. I thought Zerline being our top scorer, I mean, it's been so long since we've had a clutch kicker, so having him has been awesome. I have Bryce Huff getting his evaluation. I really, really hope there's a way the Jets can extract some value out of him, whether it's via the franchise tag and keep him for a season or franchise tag and trade. I don't want to see him just walk. I have Joe Tittman. I was very excited to see. I felt good that he can play guard at a high level and he can play center at a high level, and it feels like we have another chess piece on that offensive line. That gave me a lot of confidence moving forward.
Love to hear that. Got me excited, Ryan.
I'm pumped on that one. My number 2, Quincy Williams. We never get the benefit of a contract, and the Jets hit a home run with Quincy Williams. We signed him to a 3-year deal this past offseason, and he absolutely erupted this season. Huge season from Quincy. And then my top one, I love Jermaine Johnson coming out of college. I said if Sauce was not there at 4, in that draft. I would have taken him at 4, and then I thought we were going to take him at 10. We didn't take him at 10. We wound up trading up to pick 26 or whatever to get him, and good thing I'm not GM because I clearly don't know the values of players, but I like that my evaluation of Jermaine Johnson is becoming fruitful, and he has been an absolute stud. He won us that game last week, bar none.
I mean, Jack and I will have a soft spot for Jermaine forever just because of our reaction to the draft.
I was upset when they drafted Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, and stoked beyond belief when they drafted Jermaine Johnson.
And I mean, just the idea that we just traded up to get him after we all wanted him at either 4 or 10, that jubilation will never leave us forever. But the way I approached my top 5 was a little different. I just want, like, in my opinion, objectively, just like the best overall player on the team this season, just performance-wise and just grades and just like impact on the Jets' overall team for winning football games. So starting off with number 5, I have Bryce Huff. I think Bryce Huff, 8 sacks, career year. The edge presence that kind of elevated his defense to another level where we haven't really had a really true edge rusher like Bryce Huff, speed off the edge in so long. Number 4, I got Garrett Wilson. I mean, I think Garrett Wilson deserves some love here because he is on a pace to have another 1,000-yard season with a carousel quarterback. He's still putting up excellent numbers. If Aaron Rodgers was healthy this year, I think he still would be like a potential top 5, top 10 receiver in the NFL. Number 3, Quincy Williams. Quincy Williams, you guys said everything you need to be said about Quincy Williams. Number 2, I have Sauce Gardner. I mean, Sauce is like literally playing at the top of his game, and no one's talking about it, and that's okay because he doesn't get the flashy interceptions and do all those things, but he is the best player on this Jets team, one of the best players on this Jets team. And number 1, I have Quinnen Williams. I have Quinnen Williams at number 1, and the reason for that is, in my opinion, I think he's the best player on this team. He's graded on PFF as the best player on the Jets. He's the only player on PFF graded at 90+. He is disrupting without Quinnen Williams. I don't think this defense is going to be anything close to what it is now just because of his presence alone. And I think that his ability to eat up the run and get to the quarterback, I know that the sack numbers aren't there, but he's like having just as big of an impact on this Jets team this year than he did last year. And I think that having Quinnen as that household name that we gave that big lucrative contract extension in the summer and seeing him kind of like be the best player on the team still, and not only that, the captain and leader that he is, I think that it's awesome that we have a franchise Jet, because when you give a Jet a second contract that you drafted in particular, you want him to become the face of the team, and I think Quinnen Williams is doing just that, and I'm really, really impressed with everything that Big Q has been done this year. And when I checked the PFF grades, I saw him at 90.6, the only Jet with 90. I was like, dude, Quinnen low-key is like still the best player on the Jets, even though it doesn't feel like it. So I decided to make him the number 1. So yeah, I thought that was fun. A little top 5 Jet list.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
It was hard to leave off the special teams, though. I was like, damn it, dude, Morstead and Zerline deserve to be on here.
I'm glad you threw Garrett Wilson on there. It was tough for me to not throw any, obviously nobody else from the offense besides him and Breece Hall deserves to be on there. But, I made the conscious decision to not put any offensive players on there because they just disgust me so much. But what Garrett Wilson has been able to do with crappy quarterback play for a second straight season is nothing short of phenomenal. So he's an absolute stud. Probably should be on that list, but the offense, man, what are you going to do?
Did you know Garrett Wilson has as many? Oh, sorry, Matt, you go first.
I was gonna say there were like 8 people that I wanted to put on this top 5 list.
Yeah,
it was very hard to narrow it down to just 5. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Garrett and Breece, I think from a talent perspective, I would say our top players in a top 5 list, but it really hits you in the gut when you hear that Garrett Wilson has the same amount of touchdown receptions from Zach Wilson as he does from Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco played 4 games.
Oh, God.
That's sad.
How is that real?
I know. I didn't think it was real at first.
Oh, my God.
Free Garrett.
Like, this is outrageous.
Aaron, save Garrett next year, please. He's changing his number to 5, and that means he's going to be a top 5 receiver next year. That's why he waited.
How do you guys feel about that, by the way, real quick? I know we got to get into other stuff, but you're going to change your number? I mean, how many people already have that 17 jersey that they paid $150 for?
I'm actually down for it.
That rubs me the wrong way a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Well, he announced
told
it like a
everyone.
year and a half ago. Like
I understand, but come on, man.
I'm selfish because 5 is my favorite number, and I've been consciously not buying a Garrett Wilson jersey, being excited and waiting for that 5. So you're asking the wrong guy because I've been like waiting
yeah,
for that
5
number
is your
5 for
number.
a while.
So I pulled the trigger after, ironically, after his game in Cleveland last year when he scored the game-winning touchdown. I said immediately buy. I figured that he was going to switch to number 5, but guess what? The Jets are probably switching their uniforms anyway after this year, so I'm going to need a new jersey. So I'm going to get the 5 and still keep the 17. I'll rock both.
I was about to
All
say,
right.
I think a 17 jersey is still fresh because that's the rookie
Yeah,
of the
you're an OG.
year, the rookie of the year jersey.
I like the 17 number a lot. I'm a big
I love
fan
it.
of it.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's cool on him. But yeah, he announced he was going to do the 5, so I got no issues with it. I think it's cool. And like Matt said, anyone that's got it it's like a retro throwback, limited
Yeah.
edition.
So I saw you guys on the Talking Jets. Ryan, you're like 99.99% sure the Jets are changing the uniforms next year to the legacy.
Yeah, so I know someone.
Oh
some
boy.
inside information that now is it like legit? I'm at the whim, so it's sources, bro. Unfortunately, but the Jets advertised the legacy
Sources,
jersey.
bro. I just got sources, bro, by Ryan.
I know, but unfortunately, not unfortunately, I'm looking forward to it. The Jets advertised back in July that the legacy jersey is where what's next, and I think that was a subliminal nod to them wanting to change it back to those throwbacks. So I think we are 100% getting it. I think it's definitely happening.
Well, I speak by all Jets fans. We want this helmet full
Man.
time, baby.
That is a pretty
100%.
helmet.
Give me this full time, and then Rodgers will be healthy with this helmet and do what we're supposed. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go down this soliloquy. All right.
I was going to say though that now those uniforms, as beautiful as they are, they remind me of a torn Aaron Rodgers Achilles. Damn it!
Yeah, this is the only. All right,
Don't
Aaron.
put that juju on us, Jack. We're gonna change the grass.
We're going to change everything.
That's the
Make
key
it
right
happen.
there.
All right, folks. As you guys know who've been watching the AFC East Roundtable, we have a proud sportsbook sponsor of the channel. That is BetUS, the official sportsbook sponsor of the AFC East Roundtable. If you guys want to get 125% sign-up bonus when you sign up for BetUS, that link is down below in the description. And I want to get into the odds for tonight's game and get into the AFC East winner odds, which is an interesting one as well. So if you guys want to click that link down below in the description to sign up for BetUS today, you will get a 125% sign-up bonus. They got a 24/7 customer service that you can give them a call and place a bet whenever you like. They got fast payouts. You can also gamble on a lot of things. The casino's live, blackjack. It's legal in all 50 states. Please gamble and bet responsibly. That link is down below in the description to sign up for BetUS today. Let's hear a quick word from BetUS, and let's get into the odds tonight.
BetUS, America's favorite sports book, where you can bet on everything anytime. Sportsbook, casino, horse racing, live betting, and more. We have the best bonuses in the industry. That's right, get a 125% sign-up bonus. And to celebrate our 30-year anniversary, we are giving up to 30 risk-free bets, a truck, Super Bowl tickets, and more. Don't miss out. Play smart. Join now. BetUS, where the game begins.
Where the game begins, baby. All right. Let's get into the last thing we'll talk about, this Jets-Browns game. Then we'll get into the AFC East stuff. Here are the odds presented by BetUS. The Jets are 7.5-point dogs, and that is an interesting thing. The over-under is set at 34. 34. Extremely low. And the money line is plus 320. If there's anything you got, okay, we know that I heard you guys all agree that the Jets are not winning. But do you guys have them potentially covering the plus 7.5 spread, or you think it's going to be a blowout? Matt, any chance the Jets cover the spread at plus 7.5?
It is possible. I am going to take the Browns at minus 7.5, though, just because I really don't think the Jets are scoring. They would probably have to get to 10 to 13 points, which should be an easy ask for any NFL team. But unfortunately, I don't have very much faith in this Jets offense going up against this Browns defense. I think the Browns cover the number and win by 10 points.
Jack, tell me the under of 34 is not a lock.
I think I was going to say, bro, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. I've never seen a bigger lock in my life. Like I said, I think this could be like, a 10-point outing from the New York Jets. Probably not that much more from the Cleveland Browns based on our defense alone. I think that's an absolute lock. I might take Jets plus 7.5 though. I got to be honest with you. I think it could be, 14-10, 16-10, some crap like that. I don't know. Plus 7.5 doesn't seem too far out there for me, but I could be dead wrong. Who knows?
Ryan, if you're betting on the spread here, where are you headed?
I mean, I would definitely say Browns on this one. I don't trust.
Sorry,
the Jets to
guys.
get
I'm
points.
sorry.
It's just I don't see it, and I would take the under on the total too, honestly.
Yeah, I have to unfortunately agree with all of the things that the boys have said. Well, let's transition because there's bigger things in the division that we have to talk about that has nothing to do with us, and that is the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills fighting for the division. Now, these odds are presented by BetUS to win the AFC East. The Dolphins are heavy favorites at minus 325, and the Bills are plus 250. Now, the way that the Buffalo Bills make the playoffs, the way that they win the division is pretty simple. They have to beat the Patriots, and the Dolphins have to lose to the Ravens. And then next week will be for the AFC East. So basically, the Dolphins have to lose their next two games, and the Bills have to win their next two games. It's that simple. And with the Dolphins going up against the Ravens, who are, in my opinion, the best team in the NFL, and the Bills going up against the Patriots, it is a little bit likely. Not to say the Dolphins are not going to, they can't beat the Ravens. They definitely can, but definitely sets up a very, very interesting final 2 weeks of the season. So, Matt, what's your gut tell you here based off these odds and based off the scenarios of who comes out on top of the AFC East?
Well, I said it last week, and I'm going to stick by it. I think the Bills win the division. I think they beat New England this week. The Dolphins have a very tough road game going on the road to Baltimore, who just knocked off the 49ers in a blowout win. I think the Ravens win a tight game against the Dolphins. And then I think they're playing for the division in the final week of the year. And the Bills are just hot. They got hot at the right time. And I think the Dolphins are going to struggle against both the Ravens and the Bills in the final week of the year.
Ryan, how about you? Has your thoughts changed on who's winning this thing?
I mean, I think it's definitely going to be the Bills. Greatest story ever told, as Dan Mitchell would say, right? Like, I definitely think the Bills are getting hot at the right time, like Matt said. I think the Dolphins, even though they got the win versus Dallas last week, they get that, that monkey off their back. Baltimore's a really good team, and it's less about how I feel about Miami and more about how I feel about the Bills and the Ravens. So I don't want to take that as like slander towards the Dolphins, even though, I'm clearly not the biggest Dolphin supporter by any stretch of the imagination. But like, I think the Ravens are red hot right now, and I don't think the Dolphins can stop them. And then I think the Bills just have their number. So I think Bills win this division.
Jack, if you were to put money on this instead of your heart, who do you got winning this thing?
I'm going to have to agree with you guys, man. I know it's boring to hear three of the same takes in a row. I know the Miami Dolphins kind of got that elephant off their back. They beat a good team in the Dallas Cowboys. If I'm a Bills fan, I'm not super thrilled with how they played against the Chargers. I know a win is a win, but they let Easton Stick and an interim head coach make it way too close for comfort. But obviously, when you look at the remaining schedules, the Bills have the much easier path. But I think I'm excited to watch that final game next week between the Bills and the Dolphins, man, because I do think it's going to come down to that for the division. I don't remember off the top of my head who won in their last meeting. Does somebody want to remind me of that? So the Bills won. I like the Bills' chances, man. I like the Bills' chances.
Yeah, I mean, just from an AFC East fan and just like a part of the AFC East Roundtable, I'll admit I selfishly want to see next week to be for the division because that would just be great. It'll be great content. It'll be great anticipation. I mean, how awesome!
The Dolphins beat the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Miami Dolphins, they beat the Cowboys, but now they got to go up against, in my opinion, the best team in the NFL. I mean, the Ravens are scary, bro. What they did to terrifying. The 49ers was dismantling. And the 49ers are a really good football team. So that's going to be a really interesting game. And I think that the fact that it could potentially go down to that week to win the division is going to be big because that division title is a lot of, you want to win the division for home field and all those different things. So we shall see what happens. And I'm assuming you guys are all predicting the Ravens to win this week. and then the Bills to win this week, right? So you guys are all expecting the Bills to beat the Patriots, even though these Patriots are kind of playing a little different kind of football. Like, the Patriots are actually playing good. Is there any chance that the Patriots beat the Bills, or do you guys just say, no way, the Bills are going to win that game?
I think they keep it close. It's a big number. I think the spread is 12.5, 13.5. I think it's going to be a tight game. But I think Bills win by like 7, 27-20, 24-17, something like that.
Ryan, any chance the Patriots upset the Bills based off what you've seen for these Patriots and Bailey Zappi as of late?
I mean, the defense is impressive, but I feel like the Bills have so much more to play for than the Patriots, and I don't know. I mean, maybe Bill pulls something out of his hat for his final 2 games in New England, but I think the Bills are going to steamroll him.
Yeah, Jack, you agree or?
Yeah, I agree, man. Josh Allen said post game after last week, this is the playoffs for us. The playoffs have already begun, so I agree. I think the Bills have so much more to play for. I think they're going to come out angry, attempt to stick it to their division rivals, and I do expect the Bills to win this game for sure.
All right, and then that's really going to set up a very interesting next week if the Miami Dolphins do fall to the Baltimore Ravens. Woo! I really hope that happens, man. This channel is going to explode next week, heading into that week, man. It's going to be fun. So, guys, we're going to wrap up the show. Oh, we got Henny with a super chat. He gave his top 5. Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Huff, Sauce, and Quincy. I'm assuming this is out of order, but here are the top 5 people on the Jets. I mean, am I the only one that, like, I mean, we got to have Quinnen Williams in there. I have him at number 1.
Huff out, I think, on this list.
Yeah,
I was debating for number 5. I was debating between Huff and Jermaine, and I kind of went towards Bryce Huff just from this year's production. I don't know why.
Dude, I thought Jermaine's been a stud for
he has
more
been
time on the field. I think I would take Huff and Quincy and swap in Quinnen and Brees if we were short of Aaron Rodgers, I guess.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to potential, I still believe that Brees Hall has the most potential to be the number 1. I mean, what he did against the Commanders and what he can be if he's given the opportunity, you just fed the rock on a consistent basis. Because you heard what Brees said after the game. Oh, how'd you get like 95-plus rushing and 95-plus receiving yards? He's like, I got the ball. It's that simple, bro. If you gave Brees Hall the touches, this guy is literally going to go somewhere and be a big reason why this Jets offense could hopefully turn the corner next year. So the last thing I want to segment, I kind of want to break down with you guys regarding like the offseason, regarding just the mindset of this Jets fan base heading into this offseason. It's kind of a weird spot that we're in because we all know that Robert Saleh and the boys with Hackett and the coaching staff and Douglas and Aaron Rodgers, they're all coming back next year. And I just feel like when it comes to the offseason and the approach of a win now team, like, where's your head at? Where's your excitement level for next year? We heard Aaron Rodgers be someone that is all in for this team. He is going to be here for 2+ years, according to himself. And it seems like the Jets are entering a stage where Aaron Rodgers is going to be the face of the team, and we're just hoping that he can stay healthy. So, Matt, where's your kind of mindset at now that the season is definitely coming to an end and we're heading into yet another offseason and with the same exact regime returning?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about the same regime returning, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of legitimate concerns if they could be the guys to be the ones to turn it around. I think they need to go heavy on the offensive side of the ball to try to get it up to even just league average. To me, just try to run back as much as this defense as you can, special teams unit as you can. Those are top 5 units in special teams and defense, and I'd be looking to add as many offensive linemen and wide receivers as physically possible. And from there, yeah, I mean, if Aaron's playing 17 games, there's no reason this team can't be competitive next year, but that's the key. 17 games and a little bit more assistance on the line and the receiver room.
How about you, Jack? What's your headspace heading into this offseason, or what you really want to see them prioritize?
It's got to be the offensive line, I think, first and foremost. Obviously, a backup quarterback as well, a real backup quarterback. But everybody's going to be running for their life behind this offensive line. So I know injuries have been brutal this year. But for, every injured player we've had, there's been a healthy player that's just played like shit as well. So, this offensive line absolutely needs to be addressed. You can't chalk it all up to injuries. That's no excuse. So offensive line, priority number one. I've made myself extremely clear. I'm very disappointed in the idea of this regime coming back. I think they've done absolutely nothing to deserve coming back. When you put all of your eggs into the basket of Aaron Rodgers and he goes down, you can't use that as an excuse. Robert Saleh is not the head coach of Aaron Rodgers. His job is to find a way to have the New York Jets win games, and he's failed at that. Not in just this year, the year prior, and the year prior to that. So I feel like, obviously these guys are all coming back. It is what it is. I have to wrap my head around it. So if they are all coming back, we better prioritize that freaking offensive line, because it's been a joke. And that's, Joe Douglas's big thing is the trenches. And, you can't knock him for not trying. He's made the attempt. It hasn't worked out. So, we'll give him another year, obviously, to fix this offensive line. But if this offensive line is not looking night and day better, it's going to be a problem for Aaron Rodgers, for the backup, for whoever's playing quarterback next year. Offensive line. I'll throw wide receiver in there as well, man, because we have nobody outside of Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, wide receiver 2 is a glaring need. And I think that some two guys that I'm also excited to see tonight that we didn't really bring up that are also rookies is Jason Brownlee and Xavier Gibson. I think both of those guys, for me, the way I look at them, are potential good rotational depth pieces for next year. I don't really see them. I don't really want to slot them in as starters for next season, but I think that Brownlee in particular, because he's been injured a lot this year, I would love to see him show some flashes tonight in particular and next week against the Patriots, and maybe say, hey, maybe Brownlee's wide receiver 5 or 6 next year, be part of the rotation, and we need to get in another big-time receiver next to Garrett Wilson. Ryan, when it comes to that, I'm just going to throw you that wide receiver question. Because there's a big debate on where the Jets should go with the wide receiver position next year. Is it go all in for T. Higgins and Mike Evans and maybe Calvin Ridley, all the free agents? Is it trade for Devontae Adams? Is it draft one? Where do you see the Jets get that big-time receiver next to Garrett Wilson in the offseason?
So I think when I'm sort of looking at the layout of free agency and the draft and where strengths and weaknesses may lie, I think you got to go O-line and wide receiver, obviously a lot. But I don't see a lot of great offensive linemen in free agency, so I would rather spend my free agency dollars there. I think T. Higgins is clearly the best wide receiver you could get. I think he has the size profile that would be absolutely electric. Does he shake free from Cincinnati? Do they try to use the franchise tag on him? Mike Evans is the next player I would really look at. I think the size profile is incredible. They didn't work out a contract prior to the beginning of this season. Are they going to look to franchise tag him, or is he going to try and get that Cooper Kupp money, which was 3 years, $80 million? I don't really love that either, but maybe playing with Rodgers, makes him want to take a little bit of a discount. I don't know. I'm frustrated. I'm nervous on where we're going to end up. It seems like a foregone conclusion that Devontae Adams is going to be a Jet, and I don't particularly want to make a trade to get him, especially if it's a high-valued pick that we need to use for the offensive line.
Yeah, hopefully Joe Douglas can work some type of trade magic that he's done. The one thing Joe Douglas has done well is definitely get value for trade. And if he could get in Devontae Adams without sacrificing a lot of capital, I'm all for it. And I think that T. Higgins is a guy, but it's hard to predict that because he can definitely re-sign with the Bengals. Mike Evans is never had 1,000 yards or less in his career. He's going to be a big-time price. But the reality is the Jets need to get another receiver next to Garrett Wilson, open up this offense, then open up Breece Hall and open up all the playmakers. But the priority is still up front on the offensive line. Guys, that's going to wrap up the Jets Roundtable. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please hit that like button on your way out. We are live here every Thursday at 1 p.m. EST every single week, and we got a lot of stuff to get into in the offseason here on the show where we really will break down offseason, free agency, draft, all those things that the Jets content creators have kind of grown to be their best work because that's all we know is losing and planning and being disappointed. So, Matt, welcome back to the show. Hope you have a great rest of your night. What do you got cooking up for the Jets-Browns game tonight? Where are you watching it? What's your vibe?
Yeah, I'll be watching from home and consuming some adult beverages to help me get through this game. And then we'll have our reaction and post-game review after.
Love it. Jack, how about you? What's your plans tonight?
I'll be with you, man. I'll be next to you on the couch. Also probably partaking in some adult beverages and maybe some other adult items. That sounds weird. Not
that sounds ridiculous. Right in the
that sounds that sounds terrible. But yeah, man, thanks for having me. You guys are legends. Rich, I'll see you later, man. I'm bringing Monopoly. Let's freaking get it.
All right, Ryan, what's your plans tonight? Any adult things?
Jack and Richie's relationship's about to end with this game of Monopoly that you're about to play right now. I just want you to know that.
Yeah.
I will be consuming some adult beverages and consumption items on my couch, and pre and post game after the show or after the game. Nothing. I don't think I can get too worked up one way or the other on this game in particular.
Dude,
just hoping to see some good football.
We're going all in tonight. We're about to show the world who we are. We're about to win the game.
No, we're not.
It's like you want to just like have that energy and feel that way, but it doesn't come off genuine because it's not how I feel about tonight. Just please, all I ask, Jets, don't embarrass yourselves tonight. Please. Don't just look like imbeciles. Okay, if we lose, just lose like a normal NFL team. Don't lose in a way where we're laughed at. That's kind of how I'm going in and all I want. Okay?
You play to win the game.
Yes, be competitive. If you lose, you lose. But just don't look like idiots out there that are going to throw 105-yard pick sixes, run into butts, and all the things that the Jets have been known for. So just do that, and we'll see what happens. Guys, we appreciate you all tuning in here on the AFC East Roundtable. Jack and I will be live on Jets Media, the Jets Media podcast tomorrow to recap the game if you go want to call into our show. And we'll see you guys then. Peace and love as always. Let's go. And the Dolphins Roundtable will be live Friday night. See you guys later.